G'day folks, Jeff here with my retrospective look at Swedish death metal band Pan-Thy-Monium. G'day folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at one of my favourite Swedish death metal bands, Pan-Thy-Monium. They're a reasonably short-lived project. They're only around from like 1990 to 96. Various members of Edge of Sanity and Ophthalmia, and yeah, they were a very odd band. Definitely one of my favourites. I know I say that a lot about bands, but this one, I really, really love this band. Yeah, basically they're progressive death metal, so they're heavy as hell. They started based on trying to out-bolt throw, but they have a lot of different influences. If you want a comparison, they're just weird. They're like maybe Alchemist or Afflicted, or fellow Swedes Carbonized, or a bit of Voivod probably thrown in, or a bit of Demoleech as well. So heavy as hell, but a lot of weird stuff going on. This is definitely not orthodox sounding death metal, that's for sure. As I said, it's heavy as hell. It's got growly vocals and blast beats and very detuned guitars, but somehow it just beautifully blended all together. I've no idea how they managed to make it sound so coherent. So there's a lot of weird experimental stuff going on this, but throughout that there's just massive bloody riffs. I'm not sure who wrote what. I think it's all just credited to the band, but knowing Dan Swano's ability to write some pretty banging riffs, I think some of the Bloodbath songs he wrote are just absolutely killer, let alone Crimson. I don't know if he wrote Crimson 1, but Crimson 2 has some thumpers on it. So he's a riff master. Obviously the rest of the band are pretty damn talented as well. It's not going to be the easiest to review, to tell the truth. I'll go through all their... They've only got like 5 releases, so... Oh, 6, actually, sort of. Yeah, they're not the easiest to review because it just changes style like every, 20 seconds sort of thing. Apparently they rarely played the same song sort of twice. I think in the early days they were... rehearsed a lot, got those songs down pat, but later on they were a bit more of a studio, just write crazy stuff and hope they remember it when they have to double track the guitars, that sort of stuff. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favourite bands, just because they managed to maintain the super heaviness and the weirdness at the same time, which I've always had a penchant for weirdness. I blame it on Alchemist mostly, having seen them like, 100 bloody times or however many. Their weirdness is pretty similar, and yeah, I suspect that Alchemist were fans as well. I remember John, the bass player, used to wear a Pan-Thy shirt on stage occasionally. So, yeah, it's a style that I'm bound to love, and I really, really do. So they started in 1990 when they were all pretty young, I think. I think the singer was only like 15 at the time. Yeah, he was Robert Carlson, who was known as Derelict in the band. He went on to... He was actually the replacement singer for Dan Swano in Edge of Sanity for their Cryptic album. He was also in like Scar Symmetry, Darkified, killer old Swedish death metal band. Tormented and Facebreaker as well. On drums was Benny Larson, aka Winter, who was in Edge of Sanity for most of the time, except I think the Crimsons. And he was also in Ophthalmia as well. The guitarist was Morning, aka Robert Iverson, who was also in Ophthalmia. And, yeah, also, of course, the man himself, Dan Swano, aka Day Desirer, or something or other, was on bass and keyboards. And, yeah, as you know, he's in Edge of Sanity, or was in Edge of Sanity, Bloodbath, Infested, Nightingale, Unicorn, Witherscape, and producer extraordinaire of many bands. I think he produced pretty much all of this, unsurprisingly, at his own studio. Who would have guessed? Later on, they did add his brother Dag, Swano, who's known as Arg, on lead guitar and saxophone. He was only there for the last 3 albums, and a very worthy addition. He's also in Nightingale with Dan, and I think he guested on like a Diabolic Masquerade album as well. So, yeah, talented blokes, that's for sure. I'm not 100% when I first heard these guys. Would have been, well, back in the early 90s when they came out. I never had a copy of the demo, which is a shame. It's I've either heard them from a mixtape that I got off one of my mates, thanks Dowser or Dilger, I can't remember which one, that had a song off Dawn of Dreams on it, so that would have been 92 at the very least. I also did hear that Chaos, the second album, had scratched death metal vocals, like scratched like hip hop album. So I had to hear that. So I think I got a copy of that off my good mate Andy, or possibly it might be from this, which is a Pantaglia compilation that came out. I remember buying this in Belconnen Mall as a youth, which in this like totally normal record shop with, you know, nothing exciting other than Iron Maiden and Metallica records. And suddenly they had this, which had Disembowelment on it, which is, I think I told this story in my Disembowelment demo review, probably. Yeah, it had Disembowelment on it. It's also got like Cadaver, God Macabre, Crematory, Therian, Cenotaph, Rotrevor, and Pandemonium with Cleavage, which is a song off the demo, I think. So this is the probably the first thing I heard, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but damn fine compilation, that's for bloody sure. But yeah, as soon as I heard them, I was hooked, especially on the weird song that was taped on the mixtape is probably my favourite song off Dawn of Dreams as well. So yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Their first release was Dawn demo in 1990. This is a reissue that put out by Dark Symphonies that I highly recommend you checking out. I've also got this on record, but it doesn't have the proper album cover. This comes with Dawn demo and their Dream 2 EP, which we'll get to in a bit. I'll hold the cover up. I'll put the cover up because it's pretty bloody spiffy for a demo. I don't know if they pinched it from somewhere or what, but it's pretty classy looking, I reckon. Very sad I haven't got the original of that, but yeah, what are you going to do? I actually remember when I think Dan Swano himself was promoting it on, I don't know, I assume Facebook or somewhere or other. And yeah, he did a run of like CDRs with the proper cover, and some stupid reason I didn't buy one, so oh well. At any rate, I've got it now. So yeah, this is started. They started this band like I think a year after Edge of Sanity started. So Benny and Dan were in Edge by then. They were only in their demo days in those days, and Robert was in the Lame era, I believe. But yeah, this is all the weird stuff they couldn't do on Edge of Sanity. Essentially, I think that was their reasoning behind it. Plus, they wanted to, you know, outdo Realm of Chaos by Bolt Thrower, which is a very obvious influence on this. I mean, it doesn't really sound like Bolt Thrower, but you can tell that that's the kind of style they were going for. This is probably the closest they got to, you know, Death Doom sort of style. Like it's a bit simpler than the later releases. There's no lead guitar or saxophone on this. It's actually surprisingly good sounding for 1990, but considering it was Dan's the producer and in his own studio, that's probably fair enough. Yeah, it's 4 songs, one of which is Echo, which is this sort of long-running, I don't know, kind of gag outro song that they used on about 3 of their albums, I think. But the 3 other songs, pretty bloody killer. They redid, I think, Zenotaph and Cleavage. They've all got these weird, long, weirdly spelled names that are Dawn, but spelled DHUWHNN. You know, stupid, amusing stuff like that. I know, apparently there was no drugs involved in this, so just general Swedish wackiness, I think. So yeah, Cenotaph and Cleavage both got redone on Dawn or Chaos, I think. But the first song, Dawn, did not get redone, which is a shame, I think, because it's a pretty bloody good song. One thing I love on this is on the song Zenotaph, the second song. It's got like it's one of the few uses of keyboards on it, and even on the re-recorded version, it reminds me of the Inspector Gadget theme song for some stupid reason. I don't know. I actually re-listened to Inspector Gadget theme song recently, and it didn't actually particularly sound like it, but maybe it's just the style of keyboards. So I'm very curious if Dan Swano was a Inspector Gadget fan, like we all were, really. So yeah, it's pretty friggin' killer EP, or demo, sorry, but yeah, it's probably actually the heaviest thing they did as far as sound wise, but yeah, they got a lot better than that. Up next in 1992 was Dream 2 EP. This originally came out on 7-inch on Obscure Plasma, which I've still yet to track down. One day I'll grab that, but I got this CD in 95 when it was re-released by Avant Garde, I think. Yeah, so I think I already had the first 2 albums before I even got this, so this was a sort of Johnny-come-lately slightly, and again, this is pre-DAG, so there's no sax or lead guitar on this, which is a bit of a shame. This actual version has, the CD version has an extra track called 4 that, yeah, apparently the band did in 1994, so after the 2 albums that I don't think they liked very much. It was, according to the liner notes, it was rushed at the very least. I love the song. Dan hates it, and he actually removed it from this reissue because he hated it so much. I love it. It's got a killer melodic black metal bit with scream vocals. It does have a weird sort of bit that sounds rather out of time, so maybe that's why they don't like it. And speaking of time, this is the first one with their ticking clock motif that they had. Most of the albums after this had, weird ticking, the sound of a clock, which apparently was according to the very excellent liner notes that come with Dawn of Dreams, was Dan's mum's egg timer. So a bit of a mystique dispelled there, but oh well. I don't know, hold up the record version. It's a prettier cover. That way? Yes. Yeah, this reissue, I would highly recommend getting this one. It's kind of spiffy. You get, even though I think 2 of those interviews are in Swedish, but at any rate. So yeah, this one, it's not quite as heavy a sound as a demo. The bass is a bit more prominent on that, which is a real surprise considering Dan's the producer. The vocals are a bit more varied as well, but one of the main sort of good points of this is that the keyboards are a lot more prevalent in this. They're incorporated a bit better. They're not just like background sort of stuff. They're part of the song, like quite an integral part. They did thank what's in there, bloody Nocturnus on this, but yeah, this is way better than Nocturnus. This is also the first use, I think, the second song too. Imaginative titles there. There's the first use of panpipes. I'm sure it's just a keyboard effect, but the fact that it's really, really heavy death metal with a panpipe solo in it, they get better. There's a better panpipe solo on the last album, but yeah, this is getting even weirder. As I said, not quite as heavy and not quite as, guttural sounding, but yeah, weirder and friggin' killer. I love this. Love this EP. Up next is a full-length album from 1992, Dawn of Dreams. This is my original CD of it, with the old Modern Invasion sticker that you never can get off on the back. This is actually they went to Osmos Records for this. This is only Osmos number 6, so yeah, pretty early on in the old Osmos piece. This is a reissue on the Crypt, so Dark Symphonies. Again, yeah, love this. Had to get this on record. Yeah, I didn't get the original one. I'm somewhat tempted to try and track that down, but pretty happy with this reissue one. You can actually get this and the next album on, I think they jammed both albums on one CD somehow, and with crap-ass cover, but if that's the worst you can get, you get the music at least, which is the most important part. Apparently this cover is taken by Dan from a plane on the way to mix an album, I believe, so yeah, good work. Same on the back. And originally, this reissue version actually has song titles, because originally they were just nothing. There was no titles, no band member listed, no place where it was recorded. I'm pretty sure it was recorded at Dan's Gory Sound Studios back in the day. So, but yeah, this is the first release with Dag on guitar and sax, and it makes a massive difference straight away. I mean, the first song, Ragushina, is like 22 minutes long. Friggin' epic. And yeah, immediately he just kicks in with this killer solo of his. This is after some clock ticking, of course. And yeah, 22 minutes is a wild ride, you could say. Just all sorts of bizarre sections. Some just perfectly intertwined with groovy death, and then some just mega thumping riffs. I mean, honestly, this one song has probably more riffs in it than most whole albums do. Several albums worth, I reckon. So, yeah, it's probably their highlight song, really, that just runs the full gamut. The sound on this is way better than the EP and the demo, that's for sure. Obviously got a proper budget for this one, I think. The keyboards are, again, more prominent and nicely incorporated. Favourite song on this for me is probably track 6, which is Amara. That's the one that was on the mixtape that I got, and it's just got a super catchy groove all the way through it. And yeah, a lot of this is like Dan does sort of lead bass, I think, is the style. So I think they structure their riffs just around him doing wacky bass stuff. But yeah, this has also got the weird sax, what does he call it? U-boat soprano, which is like basically Dag playing your saxophone in a bucket of water for make it sound weirder. So yeah, that song I think is at least one example of that. I mean, you probably couldn't make this album sound weirder, but he managed somehow. But yeah, this is just, and this one comes, this reissue comes with these picture of the boys looking very young, and really good liner notes written by pretty much most of the members of the band, not Morning unfortunately for some reason, but all the others, where they basically say, yeah, this is gold, the next album after is their most hated and probably my most favourite. But yeah, they're excellent liner notes. It's really, really good fun to read. It's a real shame because there's nothing about this band really much out there. I don't know if I've got any interviews in like zines with them or anything like that. They never played live, so there's no stories of me trekking off to MDF to see them live or anything like that. No, nothing like that. I mean, I have no idea how they'd be able to produce this live anyway. It'd be ridiculous. They'd have to have like 20 band members or something just for all the weird shit that's going on. In the liner notes, it's great. Dag's bit where he's talking about it. He spent like 4 hours on this album or something, which was basically just rocking up. I don't know if he even knew the songs, and just Dan would tell him, do a Blackmore solo here or do this there, and he'd just make up something on the spot. So yeah, it was not super well thought out, I think, some of his stuff, but it sounds amazing. He's like a really good guitarist and works perfectly. There's no like dud notes or anything, and it's him mucking around. The whole thing's them mucking around. I find it very bizarre. I'm glad that in some interviews I've seen with Danny, I've seen the ones where he just sort of, said it was just them mucking around, nothing too great, but other ones where he owns up and says that it's, great, and he still likes it and enjoyed it a lot. So, because yeah, I always thought these guys were a little underrated from that point of view. It's weird stuff. I'm sure they sold all right. I mean, it's got Dan Swano attached, so it's bound to, but I like this way better than anything Edge of Sanity ever did. This is infinitely better in my book, that's for sure. So yeah, this is their first album, friggin' killer. I highly recommend everything, but this is probably their better one, I reckon. I prefer the next one, but this one's probably their peak creatively, I think. So yeah, definitely kept this one. Next album, Chaos, came out just a year later in 1993. As I said, this is not as heavy and sort of doomy, gloomy as Dawn of Dreams. It's definitely wackier, that's for sure. Lava's is like a prime example of just the weirdness going on here. It starts with this like long, drawn-out, slow riff and just growls, no drums. Then odd sax break, and then back into doom, and then a weird disco bit, and then into the groovy proper song. Then suddenly it's like fast black metal, and then doomy keyboards bit, and that doomy keyboards bit sounds very much like the song Psalm 69 by Ministry, which I'm not complaining about. And yeah, that's like about 3 minutes of the whole song. There's even more weird, wacky stuff. It would be impossible to describe everything that's going on here. I do like the re-recording of Cleavage from the demo, I think, so yeah, that sounds killer on here. As I said, the band don't like this much, but it's my favourite for sure. 3 members are credited with hand claps, because there is a hand clap section on the songs. Is the weirdest shit. I'm probably not selling it well, but you got to hear it. And the song Chaos 1 has that's the one with the death growl scratching, which is hilarious. But yeah, then kicks back into this mega thumping riff. There's so many good killer riffs on all of their albums. It's ridiculous. Just riff fest, really. So yeah, another interesting cover. I think this one, this one actually has lyrics, but yeah, they're all in Swedish, so no idea what there's going on there. I'm not sure if they were even written for Pan-Thy anyway. One thing I love about this as well is the I'm not sure if I actually ended up buying a t-shirt of it, but on the inside, if you can't see that properly, I'll put a picture of it up. It's like two drawings that Dan, I think the liner notes say he had to teach primary school to keep his unemployment benefits, which I'm not sure why he had unemployment benefits when he was a record producer, but I guess he wasn't always working. And yeah, he asked the kids to draw the most horrible monsters they could, so that's what they did. So yeah, I love the fact that he's that confident to put on a rather ridiculous pictures by kids on a death metal album. It's yeah, I mean, they're always very tongue-in-cheek sort of band, and I like humour in death metal. It's not all bloody dead serious, Satan's born the cacodemon sort of bullshit. So yeah, this just killer bloody album, this one. After Chaos, I was worried they'd split up because it wasn't much for a couple of years until 1996. Out came Chaos and Confusion. This was put out on Relapse originally on CD and then on record in 2015. So yeah, this is their best production by miles. It sounds way better than all the other ones. Really clear production. Dan's skills obviously improved quite a bit over the years. This almost could be an EP. It's essentially two longish metal songs. They're like 12 and 15 minutes long. And then one 6-minute kind of keyboardy song, and then a minute of silence. So yeah, the two metal songs on this are friggin' killer. The first song, Battle of G-Heave, has just got the biggest thumping riff in it. Kind of reminds me of Crimson, like, the repeating kind of mega riffs that they have in that. And also includes a panpipe solo, even better than the old EP version. So, and I swear there is a part of Laura's theme from the Twin Peaks soundtrack right at the end of in the Battle of G-Heave. It's like this fade out sort of bit that just really sounds like those kind of two notes being played on. Yeah, if you know the Twin Peaks soundtrack, you'll have a listen. You'll probably hopefully recognise it. But yeah, and the second song, the Fereneth, whatever. Yeah, it's another friggin' thumper riff through that one. Ends with just crazy noise, like it's not quite like the sound of a ship, but just all sorts of crazy shit going on for about the last 2 minutes. So, but then the third song, Burial, is 6 minutes of essentially just keyboard and epic, super reverby drums. That just it sounds like Vangelis, and that it should be on the Blade Runner soundtrack. Basically, it's really kind of nice and relaxing and uplifting, really. And then the last song is In Remembrance, and this all relates to, on the back they've got like the write-up of their mythology of G-Heave and Ragashina and so on. It talks about a giant battle, and Ragashina dies happy, essentially. So this is a tribute to him, or it, or whatever. Still wonder if there is drugs involved, but apparently not. So yeah, this is the full lineup. I mean, the lineup never changed in this, other than Dag joining. I think there is a bit of female vocals on one bit, apparently. There's a woman credited somewhere with vocals on it, I think. Maybe that was the previous album. But at any rate, yeah, it's the same band, just having a grand old time, I think. And yeah, this one's... I was super happy to find this. As soon as I saw it on the Relapse catalogue, it was just like, order. I think this is... The other ones are just boring black vinyl. This one's kind of grey. Nothing too exciting, but yeah, this album friggin' rules as well. So this is a happy way to go out. Although, as you'll soon see, there was a kind of a postscript. I was sad that Pan-Thy had finished, but then in 1998 I got this handy little compilation in the mail from Relapse, probably with another order of God knows what, and sure enough on there was a band I'd never heard of called Karabujan. And, this is amongst all, Abscess and Hemdale and bloody Agrophobic and Nile and Mortician and everything, all the cool stuff that Relapse had. And then suddenly I'm reading going, after Pan-Thy-Monium was laid to rest, musical visionary Dan Swano began work on a new and more bizarre project. Hey! So as soon as I saw that, this came out in 98. Then in 2001, eventually this Sprodge EP came out. There's only 3 songs on here. For some reason they have a Tintin theme to them, or at least the first one does. It's called Plan 714 till Sydney, which is, I think, a Tintin book, maybe. I don't know. This is just Dan and Dag. It's even more experimental than Pandemonium. It's instrumental, so there's no vocals, which is kind of a shame. I think they recorded this in 96, 97. There was on Discogs there's another version that I think just a CDR that Dan must have released himself, a different cover than this. This is just your usual late 90s relapse sort of, not that exciting a cover, I've got to say, but, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just Dan and Dag and maybe one guest sax player. Yeah, it sounds very much like Pandemonium, but I have a feeling it's just bass. Dan's listed as all, there's about 6 different band members listed that are all just Dan. having a jolly. And it does say bass on here, but there's no actual guitar other than lead guitar, and it's friggin' heavy as hell, so I think it is just him mucking around detuning his bass. This has even more keyboards on it, and there's some weird percussion-y bits. There's a really cool like Caribbean steel drum kind of bit as well. It's out there, you could say, that's for sure. And the sax stuff on this sounds even crazier than Pan-Thy, which is pretty talented, I think. So yeah, it's a lot more experimental than Pan-Thy, which is saying something, because Pan-Thy was pretty bloody out there as well. So yeah, it's a nice little postscript. I don't think they've done anything since, so not that I've heard of, and I'm a die-hard fan, so I'm always looking for this. Yeah, as soon as I saw this on this cool compilation, it was order. Well, actually it wasn't for a couple of years until it actually came out, but I was scanning the Relapse website pretty hard for any sign of this. Very happy to finally get this. So thanks for coming on this weird and wacky journey into the strange mind of Pandemonium. I can't recommend this band highly enough. They're definitely one of my favourites. If you like your music heavy and weird and just out there, definitely check them out. I've put samples of each of their bits, but I can only put like 8 seconds, so it's not exactly greatly representative. If I can find a link to any of they're probably on the Osmos Bandcamp, so I'll put as many links as I can down below, but there is a bit of their stuff on YouTube, so I'd recommend checking it out. As I said, sadly they never played live, so ain't no live footage out there. But yeah, I really, really love this band. They're a big part of my makeup of the styles of music that I like. So, and yeah, again, it's probably Alchemist's fault. So, but yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.